Hello. Let's check all this. Okay, I think we're good. Hello. Yeah, wow. Okay. I managed to eat something before this live stream, so we're not going to have that issue again of me chomping away. Yeah, okay. So, wow, in the past week, it's been pretty busy because birthday stuff. So, Friday was my birthday. I did a whole lot of eating, so I went to lunch with mum. I had a Nando's voucher because I'm in the Nando's loyalty program, and yeah, they give you like a free. Hey, how's it going? They give you a free meal for like your birthday lunch at Nando's. So yeah, we went there, had that. That was good. And then that night we had Thai. So a lot of eating done that day. Actually, the day started with Hope like trying to dig me out of bed. Because I haven't been sleeping that great, and he just knows in the morning when I'm awake somehow and comes and says hello. But yeah, so that was my birthday. Yeah, my parents got me this card that sings. I think like every year they get me a card that sings when you open it. They're always funny, and yeah. So the message inside was really reassuring and so on. So cool. It's in 6K. What? What's in 6K? I'm confused. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So birthday, good. Lots of eating. And then when we were having Thai for dinner, I had some relatives over, and making plans about birthday stuff. So rather than like things, probably gonna do like there's some what do you call them, obstacle course type things. So like with fitness, I hate things like the gym because they're kind of boring. I had a gym membership once for a year. And yeah, like it started off okay, but then everything's kind of the same every time, and the music's really bad. And I was okay with the classes at first. They had dance classes and so on, but then you find out that because they don't have a regular group who's always going, the dances are always the same, and there's never any progression. And I'm just like, oh my god, really? And some of the yoga stuff, like going upside down, because I got low blood pressure, sometimes that flares up a bit, and so I just wasn't handling the upside down stuff. Then I got sick, and you don't want to go to the gym when you're sick, so I fell out of the habit. And yeah, that was my year of gym membership. So I think like at dinner we were talking about like, do you want to go rock climbing? And I'm like, well, I still haven't uploaded that video actually of my last attempt at rock climbing. What do you think about? A very vague question. Oh my god, feminism. Yeah, let's not do feminism today. Anyway, so rock climbing. I mean, rock climbing is okay, but the problem with that is you're just going straight up. I mean, some of the rocks are funny shapes, and it's a little bit hard to figure out which ones to grab onto, but you're kind of just going straight up, and it's not that exciting. So the ones that I like are more like those high ropes courses where there's a bunch of different obstacles that you have to get through, and the fitness aspect, because I mean maybe it's worse because I'm just generally unfit, but anytime I do those, I can barely walk afterwards, and to me that's a sign that I've actually done some exercise for a change. So yeah, we'll probably do some of that stuff later on. And then Saturday I did my Sunday cleaning because Sunday is my performance. So Saturday was just cleaning, trying to rehearse some more. Also, I had to send out a Rainbow Death Ray package. So on our Rainbow Death Ray Bandcamp, we have a little bit of merch left, and someone bought the Bundle of Doom, which is like all the things that we made. There's only, I think, 6 left. And then after that, those are gone. The rainbow wristbands and the zine, the very first zine, there's like hardly any left. So yeah, that was kind of fun sending that off. Then Sunday was my performance day, so I guess spent the day warming up and getting contacts in and makeup done, and Instagram. When I was trying to take a picture for Instagram that I posted on Sunday, Mikey heard me saying cheese to the camera, and he came to see what was going on, so then he's like photobombing everything, and then he realized what I was doing to make the camera go, so he starts going cheese, cheese. So I almost didn't get a photo, but that was kind of funny. Yeah, and then the performance went well. I guess most of you guys will have seen the clips that my friend helped me with. I'm pretty happy with how the growls in the last song went, because that's new style of growling for me. And yeah, she wasn't expecting it. You know, like I sort of mentioned, hey, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. But she's like, holy crap, you know, the what is this? So that was entertaining. And yeah, everyone at the townie is always really nice, even though like I don't fit. So the girl who played before me, she was a singer-songwriter on like a piano, and under the stage name, I think something like the Siren of Silence. And then I'm on afterwards. I was like, yep. That was amusing. Anyway, so yeah, and you could see when I was doing that last new style of growling, the crowd was like, "What's going on here?" So that was interesting. Um, you know, like they sort of reacted. They could tell the difference between the two different growls, and it kind of like once they gotten into kind of a lull, like they were sort of used to my normal growl, then I change it, and they're all like, "What?" What just happened? So that was fun, and I got like some good feedback afterwards on the way to the bar. And actually, the bartender. I mean, I always ask for Coca-Cola, so there's no issues there. But I think he was sort of did a double take because, oh, so you don't want alcohol? And then he was like asking my age, because I mentioned on stage the happy birthday, like, you know, it's my birthday thing. And he's like, oh, so how old are you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm 31. He's like, really? Because apparently he thought I was underage. And so I've been underage for 14 years, I guess. Um, yeah. Oh my God, underage. Like I would have to be 17 to be underage, and that I don't see. Do I look 17? I don't think I look 17, but yeah, that's always interesting for me, the way people perceive my age. Um, yeah, and then because it was Sunday, I got free travel home, because they have a cap on Oval travel on public transport, so that was good. Oh, what else have we been doing this week? So I think that most of the week I've sort of been a little bit lazy, because sort of recovering and trying to get my life back together, and you know, because it just was so much preparation to get up to the point of feeling like I could perform, and yeah, and then you know I haven't been sleeping the best. Um, I think Monday and Tuesday I was probably also distracted with Instagram stuff. Oh, and also Wednesday posting Punk Rave review. But yeah, no, Instagram took up a bit of time. But I was trying to like, well, and I was editing the video, so that's probably also what I was doing. But I was just like, because I'm trying to perform, I'm like, I should at least try to promote it. So yeah, lots of Instagram posts and like making those stories and so on, and trying to get the hang of that. Instagram I still find a little bit weird, but I think I'm sort of getting the gist, at least from a posting aspect. I'm not very good at following people there, because it just like that I get a little bit overwhelmed with all the content, and yeah, most of the people I want to follow are on Facebook anyway, and Facebook is more comfortable for me. Instagram's really clunky. Like when you're using it, I feel like they've designed it to be as annoying as possible. Like you have to use your phone to get full features. You can't do all of it on the computer. And so that's annoying. And trying to send people private messages on this damn little screen is a pain in the butt. I hate typing on a touch screen. I need a real keyboard. And then, yeah, they just, like, I feel like they've designed the app to be as annoying as possible. Like, sometimes I get comments from people that they're not in English, but depending on where the comment's posted, it doesn't always let me copy it to be able to put it into a translator. And I'm just like, why? Why wouldn't you let me be able to do this? Like, they've nerfed the app on purpose, and it just gives me the shits. And what they think that hiding likes is going to fix their app. God no, God no. There's so many usability issues. So yeah, Instagram's not my favorite, but it's been an interesting sort of challenge to try and learn it, and you know, try and make some nice pictures to post. I think, you know, I've been doing okay on Instagram with that, like, you know, actually trying to post things that look a little bit better than what I post on normal Facebook and whatever. And you know, like on YouTube, sometimes make an effort with my appearance, but like today I'm in hunt end mode again. Yeah, and then Wednesday, what's today? Today's Friday. Wednesday had a massive lunch with mum again. Oh, did I miss something? On Sunday before the performance, I met up with my friend who filmed it for me, and we had Thai again. We were actually going to go. So the townie where I was performing is in Newtown in Sydney. Newtown used to be really well known for like goth kind of stuff and alternative culture, but all the goth shops are gone. Even the costume shop is going, I think. Maybe it's already closed. I don't know. The lady, I used to spend time in there, like talking to the lady all the time. Her name's Sharon. She got attacked like, was it last year or the year before? I don't remember, but you know, by axe to the back of the neck, but she has these massive dreadlocks, so she was fine, like fine, it cushioned the blow, so, but I think she still had some injuries from that, and the whole thing sounded pretty traumatic, so I think that's probably part of the reason that shop's gone. It's not just the decline in Newtown, you know, like it's, I think it's that sort of gentrification thing, you know, you start off with the weird artists and so on, and then eventually becomes trendy, and then the more mainstream stuff takes over. I think that's kind of what happens to Newtown. Yeah, all the goth shops have gone. The place I used to get my hair colored's gone. A couple other places I could go to, though. They just, I'm not a big fan of Direction's hair color, but hey, what can you do? And no one does the dreads that I like anymore, which is a bit of a shame, but, you know, I'll figure that out at some point. Because, you know, I can't afford to just be doing my hair all the time at the moment. That's why I just keep growing it. I've been growing it since, at least since I got depressed, so maybe 2015. When did I do that photo shoot? Must have been 2015. So what is it now? It's 2019. About 4 years trying to grow this hair out. Anyway, so Newtown, not as exciting as it used to be, but there's this really nice pasta place. Well, nice. I just really like it. Like, I'm not a fancy kind of food person, so to me, I just like their stuff. But that's where we were going to go and have dinner, but it turns out they've just become heaps popular. Even after they expanded the shop to have more seating, the queue was like twisting around, like down past two shops when I came in on the bus, and I was just like, yeah, fuck that. So, yeah, met up with my friend and we went to the fancy Thai place instead. So that's how I ended up having Thai again. Friday with the family, Sunday with my friend in Newtown. But it was really good, and I did well to control what I was eating for vocal hygiene reasons, so I didn't get any weirdness on stage from that. Oh, and the watermelon drink was so good. I still kind of want to do like Japanese mocktails if I can figure out how, but I'm a bit lazy and I don't care enough, I think. But their watermelon drink was really good. Anyway, so Wednesday I went to lunch with mum. There's this place that has like this fried rice, which is like this other place that closed down. So it's kind of a nostalgia for me, and it's right near this Japanese store where mum could get some fresh daifuku. And they also sell natto, which like natto is gross, but mum really likes it, so it's really convenient to just go there and grab all that. But oh my god, the serving's so huge. So I had a food coma later on that day, and that's probably why my sleep still hasn't recovered. Yesterday, what did I do yesterday? Yesterday was Thursday. See, like I can't even remember what I'm doing with my life because it's just like all over the place. Did I do anything productive yesterday? Okay, so after probably wasting my morning from not sleeping because food coma earlier on Wednesday meant I didn't sleep very well at night because I'd already had the food coma. So Thursday early was kind of crap and I couldn't think properly. That's the problem with not sleeping is you don't think properly. But my brain tends to pick up later in the day. So when it finally picked up, that's when I started researching like air conditioners, trying to find out what good air conditioners are because like it's winter now in Sydney, it's starting to get warmer, but summer is going to be shit. So yeah, let's look up aircon and see if there's a good option. But hey, we'll see what happens with that. But I did find out Mitsubishi Heavy Industries is currently the #1 pick in terms of brand in Australia. So, you know, really look at that. But a lot of those ones for like smaller spaces, the Japanese brands are apparently all pretty good. A friend of a friend is an aircon person, and that was their recommendation, the Japanese brands. which is I'm fine with. I think I have a slight Japanese bias. What was that Japanese thing? So there's this glasses place. Mitsubishi, yeah, there's two Mitsubishis though. There's Mitsubishi Electric and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, and Heavy Industries is the one that is, top of the pile at the moment. In terms of like all the factors, efficiency, cost, blah blah blah, ease of use. I don't remember. It was last night. Yeah. Anyway, so what was the Japanese thing? Oh, okay. So I think on my birthday, actually, we spent a lot of time wandering around Chatswood. Wow, I am just jumping from topic to topic, like time to time, because I didn't really plan this properly. I never do with the live streams. But anyway, so Friday, apart from like stuffing my face full of food, we also did some walking around, and we came across a Japanese optometrist. We didn't know it was Japanese though. Like it's just because uh, these glasses, they're okay, but I feel like they're not quite right. And then I tried looking at Specsavers again, and also where is it, like Bupa Optical or something, and we've looked in a few other glasses places to see what kinds of glasses the units compact to. Yeah, well, it depends on what kind you get, but yeah, his nose. I really need these nose pads, not the plastic ones that you can't move. I need them to be adjustable because otherwise they don't sit on my nose very nicely, because I have like an odd shaped sort of half Japanese nose. But at Specsavers and a lot of those places, that most of the glasses are those plastic molded nose things, and I'm just like, I can't wear these. And also I like the sort of heavy black frames, and I also don't want them to be too thin because to me it just feels insecure. Like I like that sort of sturdy feel. I know like even if they're thin, they're probably fine, but it's just a psychological thing for me. I prefer my glasses to be this particular way. So it's been really hard to find because then it's not fashionable to have glasses like this. These are men's glasses, actually. I seem to always be gravitating towards men's glasses because they don't make women's glasses in my stamp, but as long as they fit, who gives a shit? It's kind of an arbitrary kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, haven't been able to find glasses that fit my face until we come across this optometrist, and like nearly everything has adjustable nose pads, which is like amazing. I've never found glasses I like on my face. Oh, it always takes ages to get used to though, because it's kind of weird, like glasses aren't really natural. So, yeah, they're always gonna look a bit odd, I think. But, yeah, no, this place had so many options, and like they have some with the plastic nose thing, but a lot of them had the adjustable. And then we found out that they're also Japanese, and I'm like, no, it makes sense because Japanese noses are this particular way. Finally, there's someone who understands that, and they're making Japanese nose-friendly glasses. So I'm like, I'm just not sure if they take my private health fund, so I've got to ring at some point and find out. It'll be frustrating if they don't take my private health fund, because it is like one of the bigger ones you'd expect them to, but they didn't have it listed on their poster, so I'm just like, oh, if they don't take mine, that's gonna suck. I don't want to have to change, because I think mine's like the best price I could get for my circumstances. But I don't know where else to go for glasses, so that's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's just, yeah, I was a bit like, do I have a pro-Japanese bias? Maybe I do, just from being half Japanese. I have put a little smudge on my glasses, speaking of. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, and that day also, in terms of like birthday stuff, so Eckersley's is an art shop here, and I've got a member card with them as well, and they because I'd made enough purchases in the past year, they gave me like a $10 credit on it. So I went and got a pad of A4 acrylic paper. I think it was 360 GSM, so like decent thick stuff. And I only had to pay like $1 something for them because I had the $10 discount on my card. So yay for buying things super cheap, which means I should really do some more painting. I still need to do my painting for this month's Patreon goals. And yeah, we walked around a bit, and Mum found some taiyaki, which is that, if you've ever seen that sort of fish pastry with the like red bean inside, we found fresh taiyaki in the sort of street market. So yeah, she was really happy with that. I was too full by that point though, after eating all the Nando's. yeah, anyway, so coming back to what got me on that Japan tangent? Blah blah blah. What did we do on Wednesday? Japanese shops and stuff. Oh, okay, yeah. And then food coma. And then Thursday. What did I do on Thursday again? Oh my god, my life, my life, my life, my life. It's just like because I don't do much every day, it all kind of blurs together. Thursday was yesterday. Um, I'm saving up for an airbrush set for my models. I tried paint pens, but I don't like the finish. Yeah, paint pens, they still kind of look like pens, like, you know, when you draw it. I think you would have to put a whole lot of paint into the nib until it's like splashy to get a real paint feel. Unless you're going for more of a dry brush technique look, which I did see a cool tutorial about. But yeah, it's not really, it doesn't really look painterly, and the way the paint goes on, it still looks like a marker rather than like paint. So yeah, I mean, I like that you don't have to clean with it, but I feel like I need to play around with them a bit more to really figure out how I want to use them without them just looking like textures. You know, high quality textures that maybe aren't gonna fade or whatever, but yeah, still trying to figure out how I want to use them. But it's been cool to experiment. So Thursday, huh? Oh, what? Starting to get rid of the lines? I don't know what you mean by that. That sounds like an interesting technique. Um, what was it? Thursday was yesterday. So yeah, okay. I was looking up air conditioners, and that's where I got onto the Japanese bias because I had that friend of a friend recommending Japanese air conditioning brands, which is interesting. Like Australia should be able to produce good air conditioners, you would think, but I guess not. I mean, it's pretty hot here, so pretty much everyone has air conditioning these days. It's just like even in Sydney, you know, Sydney's pretty mild in terms of temperatures, but we still get up to 40s in the middle of summer, which is not fun. But one of the things that's really difficult is because it gets so hot, all my music gear produces heat, so I tend not to write music or do anything like that in summer because it's just too hot to turn the gear on, because then my room just gets even hotter and then I can't sleep at all. So yeah, that's another reason to be thinking about air conditioning for that. So yeah, I mean, air conditioning is expensive, but you can get more efficient ones. And like to be able to still get stuff done, you know, you got to think about how all these things weigh up. Um, yeah, and then what, late last night, the reason I went to bed so late is I was applying to like an acting thing. It's a long shot, but it's just like it's like a Halloween, you know, once off kind of performance thing, and I'm like, I could get into that. Just like they asked for a performance CV, and I don't have any like acting experience. So I was just like, well, it says performance, not acting. So performance, like I've done bands and stuff. Let's chuck that in the CV. And I don't have a real headshot, so I just used one of the ones I took for Instagram and sort of tried to cut it up nice to look okay, but it's not a high quality photo at all. So, you know, it's obvious that I'm not experienced with any of that kind of stuff, but worth a shot, because if I can get an audition and if I can pass it, that could be a really interesting experience for me. It's just like, I once I sent the application off, I just had to sit there in a little bit of panic mode because I was never really good at acting in school. I did year 9 drama and I did drama in year 11, but I wasn't great. Hi, huge glasses. I am Japanese theme. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really know much about Japanese. That's really funny to know though, if I've just like subconsciously done a Japanese thing. The reason I chose these glasses though is they didn't really have any other options that had the thick black frames and the nose pad. So yeah, and the nose pad. So yeah, kind of like coincidence. And then I was like, oh, looks alright. And I kind of did want a bit of that height. More as like a seeing outwards thing, but you know, when the glasses are so close, it doesn't really matter how tall they are, to be honest. Anyway, so the acting thing, yeah, I did acting in the drama and film in year 9 with a group who didn't really have good logic for filming. That was frustrating, especially when someone else figured out how to edit, and so I lost control of that. And then they just like took all the sound off the video that we had spent ages editing and chucked some other crap on it. And I'm like, you just destroyed any resemblance of story we had. Um, group work's always amazing. Anyway, but I was probably too shy to speak up. Like I was really quiet in school. Actually, like they fit well. Thank you. Yeah, no, YouTube is one of those things that has actually helped me learn to talk. So, yeah, in school I was very quiet. Yeah, in school I was very quiet. Then year 11 I tried drama again. Now that's year 11 is the one that is leading up to the HSC, and um, brow line and cheekbones. Yeah, I don't understand cheekbones. Okay, so like cheekbones, that's these, right? This sort of effect. Um, to me, like I have heard that it's attractive or something, but to me, all I see with that is like I imagine my face being like a skull, and like that's the skull and all that. So to me, I'm like, wouldn't people think that was creepy rather than attractive? It's always like it's kind of weird, especially when I make a face like that. Anyway, it's just that's one of those things that I'm always like, oh, is that how those things are? Anyway, I'm not really good with appearance stuff. I kind of just go with what seems okay to me, and hopefully it works. Um, yeah, no, the acting thing, year nine. So I tried, but I was also really shy then, so that was really difficult. Oh my God, and getting on stage in front of people. um, and then yeah, in year 12, you have to drop a subject. And drama's the one I dropped because like I was just not gonna do very well in it anyway. And yeah, no confidence, but my drama teacher was actually really hoping I would continue doing drama, not to do the acting major work at the end, but to do like a review major work, because he was one of the few guys who seemed to realize that I was good at writing, whereas in HSC English, I mean the way they taught English at school, at least when I was there, it was just really weird, and so I was always misinterpreting what the hell they were trying to ask me. But the moment I get to uni and there's a real question, I started doing really well with distinctions and stuff. So it was clearly something wrong with this HSC English thing that I just didn't understand what the hell they wanted from me. They really failed me in that kind of thing. But in drama, when I wrote reviews, I actually did really well, like getting high 90s marks for my drama reviews. And he actually saw that's how I wrote. So he was like, oh, it'd be really good if you could do reviews and stuff. But I didn't realize I was good at writing back then. And also, theatre has never really been my kind of thing to watch. Like, I'm one of those people who would rather do things rather than watch things. So I think that's part of the reason I didn't feel confident. But also, like, just I probably would have had to still do some acting type stuff. And as interesting as it was, like, learning about who's the guy? Is it Stanislavski or something? That acting theory was interesting, and I kind of wish I had the chance to learn about more acting theories at school, because I learned better at school rather than um, I just haven't got around to investigating. Well, I know a little bit about method acting, but which sounds really weird, but yeah, it's an odd way to do things, but I guess I can understand it to some extent. But yeah, I think there's a few more out there that would have been interesting intellectually, even if I sucked at it myself. Um, but yeah, I had no confidence. And then eventually, I think in 2009, when I started at my music school, the Australian Institute of Music, I started in the diploma because my music skills weren't great back then. Music never came naturally to me either, but I guess because there's more patterns in it, was a bit easier for me to pick up. Anyway, I did 2 semesters of their theatre elective. That was interesting and also terrifying because I still hadn't quite gotten over stage fright. And I don't think I ever will get over stage fright, but I made a bit more of an effort. I had moved into the goth kind of thing by then, so I was a little bit more confident, at least looking weird around people. But yeah, improvisation was always so difficult. And then anytime they made cultural references, I struggled with that in terms of improvising. So I'm like, I don't know who these characters are. I don't know how they act or anything like that. So that was difficult. But I had a good go at it. But still terrifying. And I think that's pretty much all the acting experience I've really had. I don't really remember anything after that. When I was really, really young, like just starting school, I had a massive ego, so I was always trying to get on stage, and you know, I was less shy like when I was really little. But yeah, at some point the shyness just sort of took over, and goodbye to that. Um, yeah, but now I've had no practice with acting really. Like any character work I do tends to be like in a music context. Or like I did zombie walk. So I listed that on my performance thing. I'm like, yeah, I was a zombie at the zombie walk thing. Does that count? Especially because it's a Halloween kind of thing. Um, yeah. So kind of terrifying. Like, see, it's one thing to submit the my application. You know, that was hard enough because I'm like, oh my God, I probably look like an idiot for one thing. But even more terrifying than that, what if they accept my application and I go off to this audition? Then I have to do, I don't know, probably improvise some stuff in front of people, like people who are right there. I mean, I know I'm kind of improvising now, just saying whatever and trying to think of things to say, but then having people there in the room with me, terrifying. And then what if I get the job? Then there's like I think there's like five rehearsal dates and 5 performance dates, and I'm just like, oh my God, what if I actually got it? That would be kind of terrifying. So I'm kind of like in this weird space where I'm like, on the one hand, it'd be nice to get it because I mean it also pays fine, but like to have that experience and to do a bit of acting and just like play around with that, because I've sort of thought about doing the extras thing, but you have to sign up to agencies, and as far as I can tell, most agencies ask for money, and I'm like, I don't know if I can justify that given they don't give guarantees about giving you a certain number of shifts or anything. Like, you know, I don't want to be throwing my money at things and wasting, memorize a monologue. Well, see, I don't know exactly what they want, so yeah, probably going to be improvising some stuff. And then even if it was a monologue, I would still be terrified doing that in front of people. Like, I was never really great at public speaking. Um, that's why, like, in my Master of Art, I had to do those presentations, and I ended up making videos rather than presenting because, you know, that's easier. Like, it's cringy watching myself on the screen, but it was easier than getting up and trying to talk and make sure it fit the time. I was just like, art school, here, have a video. And so that was like, you know, the asexuality project videos. Yeah. Anyway, so this acting stuff, yeah. Oh, it would be kind of fun to give it a go, and especially because it's Halloween, those are the kinds of themes that I would like with acting kinds of stuff. Because, I mean, one of the things that puts me off extras work and, or even like going back to do acting course or whatever, agencies asking for money or scam. Well, see, there's different ones. Like, I think there's one where you have to pay a certain amount to get listed on like some fancy website, whereas there are others who would try and charge you ridiculous amounts of money for a photographic package. Improv classes. Yeah, see, the thing that about improv classes and acting classes and doing extras work that bothers me is like I'm very picky about like what kinds of things I want to do, like no love scenes kinds of things, and you know that immediately cuts a lot of stuff out because mainstream is like that. Whereas the Halloween thing fits me, so if I want to give any kind of acting a little bit of a fun go, I feel like that's probably the way to do it, is go for a Halloween thing and just, you know, have some fun. And if I like it, if I get in, and if I like it this year, I can apply next year, and it can just be one of those things that, you know, I can do. Yeah, because I don't think I would really want to do normal acting kinds of stuff anyway. I don't think that's me. But anything that's a little bit more dark and like, you know, spooky, and you're trying to scare people, and you know, I listed death growling as one of my special skills, so we'll see if that adds anything. Because like with death growling, when you perform it, you kind of have to get a, like, it just automatically gives you a bit of that kind of a character of being a little bit like, whoa, what the fuck's wrong with this chick, you know? Instead of me having to conjure something like pretending to be in love with someone, I would really suck at that. But yeah, on the other hand, like, so that's the part of me that's like, I would like to succeed in this area, but there's another part of me that's like, oh my God, so much anxiety, maybe it's better if they just say no, and then I can escape all that. But to not be a chicken, I did submit the application, and now it's out of my hands. Whatever happens now happens. So for me, submitting the application was enough of an achievement, and I gotta try not to think about it now because yeah, that was kind of scary. But that's why didn't sleep so well last night. The previous 2 nights before that, I think I got to bed at reasonable times, just because I was so exhausted, especially from the weekend. You know, and trying to organize like videos and Instagram posts and just rehearsing and then getting up and performing and all that kind of stuff. I just was like, so tired, and I hadn't been sleeping great, and you know, just lately for a while now I haven't been sleeping great, and insomnia is not good because your brain, when you sleep, your brain is trying to clear out all the garbage, right? Standing sound like a way, sounds like a way to make money. Maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to get into that. Like, I would have to join an agency, and I just don't really feel confident about the way they work. So yeah. I think I'm too weird to do a lot of these things anyway. I have my own ideas about stuff, and if they don't match up, good luck. Anyway, so yeah, sleep. I really need to get more sleep. I really need to be more disciplined. It's just that for some things like that, like writing a resume CV type thing, it's like I can only concentrate late at night. Like, I had the whole day to do it, but I just couldn't focus. It took me long enough to sit down and do that aircon research, which I'd been meaning to do for ages. But then once I got started, like, you know, after 5 p.m. maybe was when I started being able to think and, you know, actually absorb what I was researching. So yeah, it's frustrating the way my brain works like that. And then, you know, my family are morning people, so it just doesn't match up very well. Yeah, and I'm just like being tired all the time. Is frustrating, and it's difficult to fix. I probably need to get more exercise. That'd probably help a little bit. But yeah, it's so hard because I hate, like, so much exercise is so boring. I need something stimulating. That's why those obstacle courses are probably good for me. It's just like you can't really get memberships in things with obstacle courses. No one designs a gym that's just full of interesting obstacle courses like the way that high ropes are done. So yeah, I can only really do them as one-off things. But that's the way to make me exercise, is you get me on one of those things. So I'll probably do that with family as like birthday related stuff. Yeah, and you know, the weird thing about those, like, I don't exercise a whole lot, but when I want to do something, I just like, my endurance level is like, I can do this until like my body breaks. So for example, getting up on stage, I was a little bit worried because I'm not exceptionally fit. So I'm like, will I be able to survive dancing around on stage and growling and stuff? And I did. I've always been a night person before I started working again. I would go to bed when the sun started. Oh, yeah. I try not to be that bad. I usually try and get to bed. Probably the latest I stay up these days would be 2 a.m. But I want to try and get to bed at 11. Yeah. But yeah, no, on stage, I think just because I was like, I am in performance mode, I've got my growls, it's music, it's fun, I was fine. And same thing for like these ropes courses, you know, like my muscles are all like, blah, blah, blah. But when you put that challenge in front of me, even when it hurts, I'm like, I am getting through this and I'm doing all the things. And yeah, I get through it. It's like, I still need to upload the video of me doing the rock climbing on the cruise last year. But I made it. So, you know, just from like willpower, I was like, no, I will get to the top. And I made it, so yay. At some point I really need to edit all that cruise video stuff. Oh my god, there's so much to do. I like, this week I could have been editing videos, and I even had time to film videos, but I think just because I was so tired, I just didn't get any of it done. So I haven't even finished editing. I haven't even started editing the next free space video that's been recorded for a while, and I just haven't got around to it. But actually, speaking of videos, the next week or so is going to be kind of difficult for me because we're finally going to fix that hole in the roof. If you don't remember, hole in the roof, ceiling, whatever you want to call it, we're finally getting that fixed. So yeah, this room that I normally film in front of my white door, yeah, I'm not really going to have access to it. We've actually got to clear out all this stuff. So if you saw in my punk rave video, this painting is in here. That's actually, oh, that's actually not related to this. That's just because it fell off the hook and we haven't replaced the hook yet. The hook is actually damaged. But anyway, no, we need to move that out. We need to move a bunch of furniture out. And then in the next room, I think there's also some stuff that needs to be done because there's some more damage. The damage has been there for a while, but we finally got the roof, like the actual roof fixed because there was a leak because of ages ago, nearly 20 years ago when we first renovated the house. They didn't put an appropriate gutter in, so it would, apparently what was happening is the water would hit the wall and then like build up, and if there was too much water it would start leaking through the roof. So we had this guy come in, put in a box gutter, I think it's called. It's a particular type of gutter so that the water goes in and actually goes away. So now that that's fixed, we can actually think about getting the ceiling done. And I think actually what they're going to do, like this is one of the difficult things about having an old house is like, you know, you got to manage these things. But so I think what they're going to do, what I've been told, I haven't been told like official details, but apparently we're going to lower the roof a little bit. So that hole, maybe it'll be patched up, but in order to make the roof look nice again, they're going to lower it slightly. So it's going to be like, there's the normal roof and then we'll have next roof, and that's, sorry, ceiling. To me, it's all the same shit. Yeah, and then that I think will have like the fancy old school details on it. Because yeah, old school house. When was the house built? Yeah, probably 1900. God knows, like I think they call them like Federation housing, and Australia Federation was like 1901, I think. Was it 1900 or 1901? I feel like I should know Australian history better, but I kind of don't give a shit. Yeah, so probably around that era. It's just like old. But yeah, and then I think we need to do a little bit of fixing up in the next room over. So we've also got to move everything into the middle. So that's what we're going to be doing this weekend, is I guess moving stuff around. Yeah, old houses need a bit of maintenance, hey, but on the upside, at least it has insulation. You know, some of the newer houses aren't as well insulated as this one. And you know, when your house is insulated, it means you have lower power costs from, you know, heating and cooling. Although, one of the things that happens is when summer finally goes away, it takes the house a while to cool because it's sort of slowly built up heat, and then it takes a while to all dissipate again. So, but also now that it's getting warmer, especially my room, which is on the cold side of the house, takes a while to warm up as well. So it's just a lot colder inside than it is outside, and not necessarily in a good way. Like actually, I have to wear a hunten in the house kind of thing, but outside, it's massive overkill if you wore all this stuff. You know, you could just wear a thin jumper. Even this would maybe be too much some days. It's a bit all over the place because we have had a bit of wind. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be fixing that hole in the roof. So that means we're going to have a tradesman here in this room, and I don't have this door. But also, because there's going to be someone else in the house, I'm going to feel a little bit too awkward to make videos. Like, I don't like making videos when other people are around. It's just weird, and I can't concentrate on what I'm saying. And I just sort of, in the videos where I have been filming with people around the house, I tend to be a little bit quieter and a little bit like, hey guys, and less confident and so on. So it's just not, it's not an ideal way, environment to be making videos in when people are around. I don't know how many days he's going to be around, so I might have time that I can film, but yeah, probably not going to be a live stream next week just because of that. And I don't know how many videos. So I do have that one free space video already filmed, but I think other than that, not much. So if it really gets down to it, I may just spam you guys with like more ant videos, because I've had some of that filmed for a while. And what was it? Peter J.A. asking for more ant videos. Yeah, so that's what's going on here. Yeah, I think I've run out of recounting what's happened in the past week, probably. Is there anything else? I don't know. Anyway, so, I think we scared off, how do you pronounce this name? Johannes, and then Ecestro with the 2 dots and M. I think we scared him off because I said I wouldn't talk about feminism. It's just like, you know, the thing about that kind of question in a live stream, I'm just like, oh my god. I don't really need those kinds of questions that are going to take things in a controversial direction, especially in a live stream. I don't know, there's someone else who sometimes leaves comments that are like more overtly controversial things, and I'm just like, I don't need to deal with that kind of stuff in a live stream. I don't really know what all the guidelines are, especially because I'm not monetized, so I don't need to pay attention to any of that garbage. But I have heard of like some dumb things YouTube doing because of things that people commented, you know? So if someone leaves a dumb comment, that's not like I may have to go and delete it or whatever, so as to not upset the PC gods or whatever. I don't know. I think actually mainly the comments thing has been more a problem when there are children in the video. But yeah, no, I haven't been paying that much attention. It's just like, you never know when they're going to change the rules. And so because some of this content's going to be sticking around for years, I don't need people coming along and, you know, leaving comments that I then have to deal with thinking, gee, I may get penalized for this one day. So like just yelling about feminism, not bad in itself, but I just don't really want to deal with that in a live stream. I've addressed some of my thoughts on feminism in the past. Basically, I prefer balance rather than extremism one way or the other. But yeah, no, and especially also when you ask a question, you know, like, I don't know what the 6K comment was, but what do you think about feminism? Yelling feminism. That's so vague. Like, what do you think about feminism? What aspect of feminism? You know, like, I can't handle that. It's, you know, basically what I think about feminism is there should be a balance. Let's not go to an extreme of saying it's all evil, but let's not go to an extreme of saying it's all good. Do you know what I mean? Like, find the balance, find the nuance, and there you go. There's your good part of feminism. Like any movement, really, there's very, like most things, something's taken to a damn extreme. But if you go the other way and completely abolish it, you go to a different extreme, and maybe that's not so good either. Like, just like for most things, trying to take a balanced view, trying to consider different viewpoints. I think that's just my way of doing stuff, and I'm not necessarily going to have a firm opinion on everything. But yeah, no, the vagueness of that question is also annoying. It's like, okay, this is one I get a lot, is people messaging me saying, can I ask you a question? I don't know from just that. There's a few people too who do that, so like don't take it personally, but when you say, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what question? You just asked a question for one thing, but it's so vague. If that's your whole question, can I ask you a question? I'm like, maybe, just ask the question, or at least give me a hint about what it's going to be about. If you think it's really bad, then I'm going to slap you down or whatever. At least give me some kind of hint. Can I ask you a question about topic? Or just go ahead and ask a question and I will decide whether or not I'm going to answer. You know, if you just ask, can I ask you a question? I might say no. And maybe you just wanted to know, like, what was my example before? Like, maybe you just want to know what my favorite brand of toast bread is. Because, you know, with bread, right? Sometimes they label it as sandwich bread and sometimes they label it as toast bread. And I've noticed, at least with the brands that I eat, the toast bread actually does toast a little bit better than the sandwich bread. I don't know how they've done this, and I'm pretty sure it's not me imagining it because, you know, I've had people agree with me, actually, yeah, this is better as toast. But for some reason, what brand is it? I think we usually get Tip Top or Wonder White. They both have toast versions of their bread, and they do toast better than the sandwich ones. Anyway, yeah, maybe that's all you wanted to ask me about, and I've just gone, no! Because I assume, when someone says, can I ask you a question, generally you assume that they're gonna ask something heaps sensitive, and I'm like, but sometimes they don't, and sometimes they'll ask a question that they think is sensitive that I'm not sensitive about. For example, mental health things, for the most part, I'm just like, here's all my mental health problems. You know, so you can ask questions about that. You might think that it's a sensitive topic because I know some communities there's still stigma or whatever, or maybe the person asking the question feels embarrassed about their mental health condition or whatever, but I kind of don't give a fuck. So if you want to ask me a mental health question, most of the time I'm going to be like, this is what I think, open book kind of stuff, you know? So can I ask you a question is just too vague, and you're kind of making assumptions about what I might find sensitive. I mean, at least give me a hint. Like if you said, "Can I ask you a question about sex?" I would be like, "No, fuck off. Thank you very much." But I heard Jim Jeffries say the bread is a lot better in Australia than the US. Oh, there's a lot of things that are better in Australia than the US, just quietly. But I don't know. Some things in America, some of the food in America was very strange, I have to say. I mean, this was more than 10 years ago, but I was just like, Americans call this food. I don't know. I think America has at least where I went, Wonder Bread. I don't know about Wonder Bread. There's a brand called, I think, Wonder White. Um, uh, but yeah, no, some American food, some of it was a bit greasy. There was this one that was like meant to be a beef thing or something, but it was like shredded beef or whatever, and I don't know how they put it back together into like a sort of burger, but it was gross. I couldn't eat it. I was just like, this is food. And then yeah, a lot of stuff in America ends up being deep fried. And then the pizza. So where we went to LA and there was this place where they showed the pizza in the window, and like one slice of the pizza was about the same size as a regular pizza in Australia, and we're just looking at it going, what the fuck, you know? I assume you would only order the one slice rather than the whole pizza, but yeah, American food sometimes can be a bit strange. I think there was some stuff we had that was nice, but yeah, it's different. You'd think it's the same, but it's different. Highly processed food in the US, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So I can kind of see, like, when people talk about Americans eating too much meat and too much processed food and blah, 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 I can see that. Although Australia has its own obesity problem, I think, but I think it's probably not as bad as in America. Um, and, it's a bit hard to make generalizations because obviously some parts of America will eat differently than others, and same thing in Australia. Some parts of Australia eat differently to how other people eat in other parts of Australia. But yeah, no, some of the food in America was a little bit odd. But yeah. No, so can I ask you a question? Is just like it's vague. It doesn't help me know if I'm going to answer the question. I need at least some hint of what direction you're going. Um, yeah. Or like, if you're worried about hurting someone's feelings or upsetting someone or going into a topic that maybe they don't want to go, instead of saying, "Can I ask you a question?" maybe what you can do is be like, "Hey, I hope you don't mind. I just wanted to ask a question, but I understand if you don't want to answer. I just like, you could word it something more like that, instead of saying, 'Can I ask you a question?' and just leaving it that and making me go like, this could be anything from incredibly benign all the way to something completely inappropriate, and I have no idea how to respond to that question if you don't give me a hint what it's about." Or ask up front, but say, "I realize this might be a sensitive topic, blah, 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 blah." You add those disclaimers in, and that can, like, if you're worried about how you're going to be perceived, or trying to be more polite and so on. But yeah, so that's that. Can I set a trap for you? What? Yeah, anyway, so some things in my head. How did I get onto that topic? I don't even know. Oh, I think because of the feminism thing further up. Hey, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think there was a new viewer who made some comments about LGBT stuff, and I'm like, look, I really don't need that on my channel. Like I have my mixed views about certain things in LGBT. I think you guys know I'm not exactly thrilled with my own asexual community, and I just keep myself separate from those communities. But there are other channels that will go in depth, and I feel like, if I try and go into some stuff, I'd just be repeating things from other people. And then there's some things I'm not decided on, and it just doesn't feel productive to discuss some things. And then, because of the way that certain cultures are going, especially like I think Canada and the US, some of the cultural wars going on there, sometimes I look at that and I'm just like, do I really want to get involved in that? Maybe not. Yeah, I think in Australia we're a fair bit more chilled. Like, you do get some of that stuff going on, but it's not as bad. Whenever someone asks me if they can ask a question, I feel like I'm being set up. Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you don't know what the question is, so they need to ask, and then you can easily just say no. Like, I would say, anytime someone asks that question, I'm like, I can't definitely say yes, I can't definitely say no. I'm just like, just ask the question or tell me what it's about, and I will decide whether or not I'm going to answer. You can ask the question, doesn't mean I have to answer it. yeah. It's just a weird thing. Like, I know people are trying to be polite by doing it, but it's not helpful because I still don't know what you're going to ask me about. So, yeah. Ah, dear, oh dear. Anyway, it's not as annoying as some of the stuff I get on bloody Instagram though. Instagram's weird because you know, apart from all the other issues with it, I think because it's an image-based platform, you tend to get people like some really strange strange people with strange ideas about what it is. Like there are some guys who seem to treat it as a dating app, but they're also really bad at connecting with chicks. So like there's this one dude who keeps sending me messages that are just 3 emojis long and that's it. And I'm just like, what's this supposed to mean? How am I supposed to respond to it? There's always like a love emoji in there somewhere. And yeah, and then even if I don't respond, the next day there's another three emojis, and I'm just like, if he keeps doing it, I'm gonna snap. Like I keep snapping at guys on Instagram because they just don't get it. I'm like, okay, like there's this one guy who just kept sending me all this stuff like, oh, I love you, baby, blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, you don't. I mean, for one thing, you're not even following my account, so yeah, that's real love, isn't it? But for another thing, like this is not a way to make a connection with anyone. I mean, I'm not even in your country anyway, so like, what are you hoping to achieve? And then like you don't get to know anyone by just sending love emojis and random love messages, and then all you do is make yourself look creepy. So I like in the past, I think I would have just auto blocked a lot of those people. I mean, there have been some that I've just been like, you know what, I don't have the energy, so I've just like declined their messages and whatever. But at the moment, I mean, because I guess because I have so much time on my hands lately, what I've been doing is I will explain to the guy, you realize you're being weird and creepy, and then, you know, sometimes it takes them a while to accept that. They don't run away straight away. Some of them get a bit defensive, but I haven't had any really bad defensive guys. They seem, I don't know, maybe they're surprised that I'm actually trying to talk to them like a person, because Instagram, it's really hard to find people who actually want to talk on Instagram. But yeah, so then I explained to them, look, you've got to consider, like, if you're trying to connect with a chick on Instagram, you can't leave them messages like this. Most of them are just going to ignore you or block you or whatever. You know, you need to not act like a creep, not make a weird, like, first impression. You know, you've got to try and be a real person and not just act like a horny weirdo, you know? So I've been trying to explain to these guys, and some of the guys do seem to be like, oh, I didn't consider whatever, or they seem to come around. Others kind of just go silent because I can, when I get on a roll, especially in text form, I mean, it's hard on Instagram because often you're typing on a tiny screen, but if it's like Facebook or YouTube or somewhere I can use a real keyboard. Once I get going, I can be like a steamroller with just my wall of text explaining all the reasons why you're wrong. I may not be 100% right. I'm willing to admit that sometimes, like, we're all fallible humans, but I give you my opinion of why you're wrong and all that kind of stuff. And because I tend to like really break it down, it can turn into quite a lengthy document, and a lot of people just look at it and go like, and then never reply. Or if they do reply, they'll reply to only one tiny bit, and that's how you know that they've just got nothing to come back against every other point, and they're not worth the argument. You know, but yeah, no. For the most part, the guys that I have been like, hey, you're being weird, stop it. Yeah, they seem to, they either do stop it or they try and change. So that's been good so far. I haven't really had anything get vicious over there yet. But it's just weird. Like, I don't understand what they think they're achieving, because you're not going to get women this way. You're just gonna make them all think you're weird. Like, it's not. Why would you think that was going to work? Like, what do you think you're achieving by just sending endless like, oh, I love you, baby kind of stuff? I don't get it. It's fucking weird. And it's like these guys have never even considered. I don't know. It's just I can't get my head around who would think that was a sensible thing to do. Because I know there's a lot of lonely people out there, but if that's how you're approaching people, maybe you're doing it to yourself. Just saying, you know. Yeah. I mean, I realize sometimes if they leave like a one-off emoji, in response to one of my pictures. Sometimes I'm being like, okay, maybe it's just that they don't speak English, but they want to leave some form of appreciation. That's fine. But there are some that get super weird, leaving excessive emojis and like multiple times and sending me private messages of emojis and then like gifts with like love and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, get yourself some perspective. You know, you don't even know me. I could be a freaking psycho who, like, if we ever met, maybe I would stab you in the back. You don't know how stable I am. You know, it's just it's bizarre, and I haven't really had that kind of thing on other platforms. It's just Instagram. And yeah, some of them seem to think it's a dating app. And then there was this one guy who was like trying to be a tough dude, leaving like, you know, muscle emojis and so on, and I had to slap him down as well because he was just being like, you know, if you can find that thread, I think it's on the picture where I'm wearing a sort of military thing and I'm doing a punch. And yeah, on that, it just got super weird because he's like, you want to fight? And I tried to approach it from sort of more like a humor kind of direction. So like instead of taking it as in like you want to fight, real kind of macho testosterone thing, I tried to interpret it from like, hey, you want to fight, haha, kind of joke thing. So I responded with a joke that was something like, oh, you know, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, I haven't done it in ages, and like, you know, sweat mark, like, haha, I would kind of suck. And then he comes back with like, oh, I usually just hold girls' arms up and then they struggle, like, you know, struggle for a bit and that's it. And I'm like, do you realize how creepy and rapey that sounds? You know, and you usually just hold women's arms up. That means you do it more than once. Like, what do you do? Oh my God. And then later on, after I've explained to this guy what a tool he's being, and he eventually realizes, oh shit, this chick's not gonna take no shit. Like, you know, he was trying to guilt me into thinking, he was just trying all these tricks. Like, he never actually apologized. And he was trying to paint me as like some highly offended snowflake or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you're just trying to make me go along with your shit. I know what this tactic is. And eventually he realizes like, wow, she's not gonna whatever. And yeah, he started being a little bit more respectful, but I lost my train of thought because I just got so carried away with that. But yeah, that guy, oh my God. Oh my God. I was just like, what do you think? Oh yeah, no. At the end of all this, he's like, you know, oh wow, you're actually like a really strong woman kind of stuff, and I like that kind of thing. If we ever meet, can I ask you out to dinner? And I'm like, are you insane? After you were just a complete creep, now you want to ask me out to dinner? Do you realize like that is not how, if you want to ask a chick out for dinner, try and make a good first impression instead of I'm a creepy weirdo rapist first impression. Do you know what I mean? And then on top of that, no, I'm not dating anyone. Because that's where this is going, and I'm not going to dinner with anyone. I only go to dinner with like family members or close friends. You know, that was really just my friend on the weekend when we went to the Thai place, and like I feel really comfortable with her. Most people I'm not going to go to dinner with, regardless of whether or not male, female, whatever. You know, I've had some guys saying, oh, I've got no romantic interest in you, but do you want to go to dinner? And I'm like, no, I'm not a social person. You know, it might not be that I have any ill feelings for you, but that guy on Instagram, definitely ill feelings because he was just such a weirdo. I think he's still sort of hanging around on my Instagram, but he's sort of learned to shut up because, you know, God, you know, you got to get some perspective and change the way you are if you want to have any chance of even having conversations, you know. Anyway, yeah, no, there are people that I'm friends with, but I don't want to have dinner with them because I'm not a social person. I get social anxiety still. I think my social anxiety is worse since I stopped having a band. Partly from the lack of practice, because when I was in a band, right, I was seeing my girl band, and even before that, my winter gaunt band, I was seeing the guys there every week, you know, and then we'd go and have gigs together, and then I'd mingle with the crowd, partly because I'm like hyped on adrenaline, and so I just become more social that way, but also partly because you can't be one of these rock stars who pretends to like just be above everyone. You have to mingle and you know, network with people and make your fans feel appreciated, because like if you didn't have fans, who would you be playing to? You know, the occasional random who happens to walk in your gig. You know, you need to appreciate the fans and all that. So, you know, being social in that sense, and you know, talking to people, making friends and whatever. But I think because I haven't really done that, I've sort of fallen out of practice. And yes, occasionally I perform solo, and then once the adrenaline kicks in, I will mingle and talk to people. But it's not the same because I'm not socializing every week as part of practice. So yeah, I feel like I've become a lot less social, and like since not being in a band. So when like even people I like are like, "Do you want to go to dinner?" I'm like, "No." And then also I just find it weird to just go to dinner, because what are you doing when you're going to dinner? You're eating. Okay, I can eat on my own, and you're talking, and okay, we can talk online. We don't really need to go to dinner. Whereas if it's like, "Do you want to go get a movie?" and then maybe we can get some dinner. And I'm like, "Okay, movie." That's something that, you know, I will leave the house for if it's the right movie, because some things are worth seeing on a bigger screen than what we've got here. So yeah, or like going to that Star Wars thing with that friend, you know, and he's, you know, I've known him for a while, and you know, he's fine to hang out with, so I'll go out with that. But if it's just like, "Hey, do you just want to have dinner?" There's only a small number of people I will just randomly have dinner with. Um, yeah, so socializing, I'm really not good at it. But yeah, no, I gone on that tangent because of that dude who just acts like a total creepy rapist sort of dude, and then tries to ask me out to dinner. Good luck. I mean, you know, bloody hell. And also, like, what he tried to pull that thing on me where it's like, "Oh, if you don't want to talk to me, stop replying." And I'm like, "Excuse me, you're the one on my post. I'm the one who has power here. You've got no power here." Because, you know, on your own post you can delete people, you can block people, and whatever. Like, you know, if anyone's leaving my post, it's gonna be him. So, you know, just like fuck off with that shit. I just, the ideas that some people get, you know. Um, yeah, there are some tips. If you're a lonely, weird, awkward guy, usually it's guys. I haven't really had any females do this to me. Yeah, there are some tips on what not to do if you're trying to approach women online and trying to have any kind of online social life, instead of people just blocking you because you're being crazy and uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. So that's my quick advice on that kind of thing. And I feel like I've kind of made things a little bit gloomy because I just went on a bit of a complainy rant. But you know, that's how it is. You've got to consider sometimes how other people are going to perceive you, especially if you're just like some random suddenly popping up doing that kind of stuff. Especially if you, like, if you're interacting with a female online, you have to realize that females are often approached by weirdos. You know, like it's a lot easier for weirdos online to just approach women. And like, I've had it for years on this channel even. You know, remember the old foot guys? What's it like to be socially anxious? I don't know, you just feel anxious when you're being social. You don't really want to be around people. I don't know how to explain that in any other way. Like, it's kind of in the name, social anxiety. You're anxious about social things. So when you're around people, you kind of don't want to be around people. Or the idea of being around people kind of is just like, "Yeah, no, I think I'll stay home, thanks." There's kind of that. There are some socially anxious people, though, who have a strong desire to be with people, and I think it must be a lot harder to be that kind of person because they want to be with people, but they're too shy to go and do it. And so then they also experience that loneliness. I think when I was younger, I probably did have some loneliness, and maybe that's why I got into things like robotics, Pokemon, Digimon, you know, all these things where you have like this benign friend. uh, but at some point, I was just like, you know what, I don't give a fuck. I'm happy with my dog. I'm happy with just staying at home. I'm happy with family interactions. That's all I really need. And then also, I think what helped me is having a social life online. So I don't ever have to actually see people, but I can have that sort of intellectual social interaction with people through text. But there are some people who desperately want real life social contact, but they're also socially anxious at the same time. And I think that must be really difficult because the thing you want is also the thing you're scared of. Yeah, I'm too dead inside for that these days, I guess. And then, yeah, I think with social contact, I don't know that I ever really wanted to get close to other humans, but you know, for some reason the text version of humans is easier and more appealing to me than the real life flesh version of humans. Although it depends. There are some people it's fun to be around. Is it like stress to be around people? Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. I've changed a lot, so I cope a lot better being around people, but I do remember, like, if I was socialized a lot for a long time, I would be very drained and actually need to, like, lie down to recover from being around people. That's how bad it used to be for me. Nowadays, I just sort of, like, get that sort of anxious feeling in your chest before going somewhere or before seeing someone. But usually, once I'm in the situation, I will be fine and I'll open up a bit more. But it depends on what situation it is and what people you're around. Like in class, now that I'm older, anytime I'm in a classroom, I'm a lot better at speaking up because that's no longer a scary situation for me. But in the past, if I had a question, it would have like I would have had to really psych myself up to ask a question. But I was recently in a focus group for something in my local area, and it took me a long time to speak up about one particular thing that I thought I did want to make a point on. The rest of it was kind of entertaining because my area, man, they're Can I ask you a question? Oh my god. My area is a little bit, it's full of NIMBYs, not in my backyard, but I think like almost all of Australia has NIMBYs to be honest. But yeah, no, it's just so funny hearing them bicker over petty things. And so, and you know, I got $100 for just sitting in that room. I didn't even have to make a contribution. I could just sat there and I'd still get my $100, which I haven't spent. It's a gift card. One of those Visa cards, so I should spend that on something at some point. I think it's got a 3-year expiry. All gift cards in Australia now, I think, have to have 3-year expiries as minimum. So yeah, I've got some time to spend it, but better earlier than later when I've forgotten that it exists. So yeah, got to think of something to spend that on. And I also took home all the leftover sandwiches and stuff. I sort of lingered waiting to see who would take how much stuff, and then there was heaps of sandwiches left. There was this one vegetarian one that was really nice. I don't know what it was, but it was really good. Vegetarians should take that and market the shit out of it because it was amazing. I'm not a vegetable person, so, you know, the fact that I like it, wow. Yeah, no, and then they're still there, so the organizers, as I was leaving, I was like, do you want me to take those? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. So I've got these 2 boxes of like, yeah, walking down the street with sandwiches, and I think there was some fruit stuff as well. There are a few different things. Anyway, that's me being a little bit Asian, huh? Yeah. Anyway, what was I talking about? What were we talking about? I don't even remember. Socially anxious. People on my social anxiety makes it hard to think around people. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we all sort of go through it in different ways. Hey. Can affect the thoughts and, you know, how your brain is processing. Because, you know, like fight or flight, right? You know, for some people, that sort of shuts you down and you freeze. For other people, like, you get a little bit over the top, like, ah! And you're running away. You know, there's different ways to do it. Actually, I did have an idea about, you know, remember I made a video sort of about adrenaline. I had some more thoughts about that with anxiety versus excitement, because yeah, there's some interesting stuff there. But yeah, no, if you're a very nervous person, I think one of the things I've heard is that because nervousness and excitement are so closely related, if you can shift your perspective, so instead of thinking about how nervous you are, try and think of what's exciting about it. That can be a way to sort of shift from nervousness into excitement. I don't know how effective it is because I don't think I've had much reason to try and use it. And then, like, when you're heaps anxious, how much are you going to be able to think about that stuff anyway? But that's an interesting theory. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, no. Instagram really is quite strange, but I think I actually got over 500 followers. That was unexpected. That's just doing things my own way. I guess there's like some tips from social media gurus just about how to use different features. Those were kind of helpful, but in terms of like they give you all these strategies on how to get followers, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not what works for me. I use my own sort of ways of doing things, and that seems to be going all right. So yeah, that was an interesting thing that happened on Instagram, but I still struggle to understand the platform, and sometimes I'm not really sure what I'm doing on it. But I guess like one of the motivations for trying to work out Instagram and trying to learn how you find people who like your content to follow you, eventually, at some point, hopefully, I will be in another band. And at that point, that band will probably have an Instagram because, you know, that's one of the ways you promote yourself. So I need to know how to use Instagram in order to be able to help out with that. Because, I mean, let's be real, if I'm going to be in a band, chances are it's going to be mostly dudes because most heavy metal people are dudes. I'm not really interested in doing the all-female thing again. It's so hard to find people, and then you have to deal with like all the sexist bullshit where they're like, if you have an all-girl band, that's sexist. And I'm like, yeah, but guys can have all-guy bands, and no one gets upset about them. And I've had those all-guy bands say they don't want to have me as a singer purely because of my sex. So, you know, like, I can have an all-girl band if I want, fuck you. But I don't have the energy to go through those arguments again, you know. And yeah, it was difficult. Like, we never found a drummer. We had like a few girls who were kind of interested, but they couldn't do double kick. And so, you know, we just went with the backing tracks. And then, like, at some point, because I was in charge of the backing tracks, the only thing I really couldn't program was guitars. And so, you know, it's kind of like, well, if I'm going to do all that, I might as well just be solo, really. Yeah, it's just a lot of work. I burned out with Rainbow Death Ray. But yeah, I mean, if an all-girl band came to me and was like, hey, can we have you as a singer? I would be considering it. I actually had an offer like that. The thing is, they were very political, very left-wing, LGBT kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, so like I like your sound, but how much politics, like how much do I have to be a political person? And they're like, oh, it's pretty important. And so that's why I didn't join that one, because I can't, I don't want to sing about political stuff. And I don't think I would have had a lot of the same passions as them or the same opinions. So that was never going to work. But I was open to it because their sound was really interesting. But yeah, it wasn't a good fit. But anyway, so the point being, chances are I'm probably going to end up in a band with a lot of dudes. And dudes, I mean, there are just like, on average, guys are not so good with things like social media, self-promotion, all that kind of stuff. At least not from the guys that I've come across. There's a few who are good at it, but in general, it seems like the chicks are the ones who do that kind of marketing side of things. So I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to end up doing that. I mean, with my first band, I ended up doing that, and I ended up doing the management type of stuff, all the like organizational kinds of stuff. So I'm kind of just expect that. Like, I could start another band. I do know some guys I would really like to work with. It's just that I know that those guys don't really write music, and they don't really write the music I like if they do. But they would be happy to play with me if I came up with something. But if I'm going to be starting a band, like, one of the problems is I always end up being the person, like the leader, the person who does the main writing, and then I end up doing everything else as well. And I'm just like, I don't want that. At the very least, I need to find a guitarist who can write the music I like and leave the bulk of the writing to them so that I just do vocals. If I can at least have that, I don't mind doing all the management, social media, organizing, whatever, as long as I don't have to also do the writing, because music doesn't come naturally to me. That's something I've had to put a lot of work in to get anywhere in, and I still find it very daunting to go and write a song. Even though I seem to have somehow gotten better at it, but I just don't have confidence, and I find it very stressful. So on top of everything else, that's the one thing I would like taken off my shoulders. So yeah, and it's probably, chances are, going to be working with guys. So yeah, I probably will be the one who needs to know how to use Instagram. So that's probably my main motivation for the Instagram thing. It's also just been interesting. I mean, like, you know, I've got the Punk Rave Australia stuff. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be doing fashion stuff on YouTube, I might as well have some kind of a fashion thing going on Instagram. And that's why my Instagram is very much more geared to that kind of stuff. Like, I actually have a vague attempt at a niche on Instagram, whereas on YouTube, I'm just like, everything from fashion reviews to let's plays to mental health blogs, you know, my music stuff. I just like everything on my channel. It is chaos because I started it as a personal blog and it just like wasn't ever meant to go anywhere. I wasn't ever meant to get any viewers. It was just like, hey, this would be fun as a diary. And so it has just sort of, you know, grown as I've grown into a big ball of chaos. Yeah. Whereas Instagram is a newer thing that I wasn't, like, I was sort of mucking around for a bit, but after I was like, I don't see the point. But then doing fashion stuff, I was like, okay. And then also coming back from Japan with a bunch of fashion stuff, I was like, well, Instagram is kind of a fashion-y kind of thing. I mean, there's other stuff on there, but mostly fashion and whatever. Might as well give it a go, but I don't have the patience to do proper photography. Actually, I might have a photo shoot with a friend, but that's more because he just wants to get better at photo type stuff. But you know, maybe we'll get some stuff for Instagram off that. But like, I'm not going to be one of those girls who goes off with a photographer and produces all this like really nice looking stuff. I don't have the patience for that. It's not my personality. Yeah, and then like it's still kind of chaos. It's still like me doing random stuff. And then I just like Photoshop. I have a little bit of fun Photoshopping myself sometimes because oh, hopefully. Because it's kind of amusing, and like just practicing Photoshop is, you know, a fun skill if I need to like Photoshop some promo one day. Yeah, no, Instagram's been kind of interesting. And then just like learning how it works and the psychology of the platform is interesting as well. I've got this like, I've scratched something behind my ear and it's really distracting and I should stop touching it. Oh man, oh man. Yeah, Instagram's odd. I'm probably using it better than Snapchat though. I don't quite understand Snapchat. I mean, for me, like Snapchat, I just kind of use to try and document when I'm going to bed. Although I have also done some like vocal experiments on there, but yeah, I think mostly I just use it as a way to document when I'm going to bed, and yeah. I don't really understand Snapchat. Does anyone understand Snapchat and how the kids are using it? Because apparently that's where all the kids are, and yeah, I think I'm too old to like this newfangled stuff. Shake my walking stick. What else? What else is the kids using? I've heard like there's like some other platform called TikTok or whatever, and people are saying, oh, you should get on that because that's gonna be the next big thing. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't have the patience anymore. I don't think I can add any more of this social media stuff. I mean, I've even got a Tumblr, but I just like kind of post Instagram automatically there and then occasionally other stuff because I just don't have the patience. And Tumblr feels like, yeah. I think, you know, people think I look underage, which like I don't think I do, but some people like, you know, that bartender, oh, you looked underage up there. Yeah, no, but I'm 31 now. I'm gonna have to update that little card thing that I put in my punk rave videos with all my statistics. But no, I'm 31 now, and I think the main way that's starting to show is all this social media stuff. I'm like, yeah, when I was younger, in my 20s, I just video blogged about my internal sort of psychosis, I guess. It's kind of funny looking back on some of that older stuff because, yeah, I was in a very different headspace. I actually stumbled on some stuff related to my old vampire interviews though. I don't have any of the videos. I think I lost a lot of that older content back when I changed to my Windows Vista computer. So that was a while ago. But I did save ones that I filmed on my Windows Vista computer, which are on my Windows 7 computer. So I think I've got videos from about 2011 onwards. I think I've got a lot of them saved. But a lot of the vampire interviews were before that. But I have stumbled on like transcripts. Because I think I must have used to post them on my spaces, you know, like Windows Spaces or whatever. Would have been like dragonlugia.spaces.live something. And I think they've appeared on my Facebook notes, and I don't know how this happened. Like they weren't there. They weren't there like 2 or 3 years ago, but then they suddenly appeared, and I'm like, am I imagining things? Did I somehow import them into Facebook a long time ago? I don't even know. So, I mean, I need to go, actually, I should double check that it's still there and make sure I wasn't dreaming, but I'm pretty sure it was there. It's just like missing all the pictures. Thank God, because some of my early fashion experiments were pretty bad. Back when I was trying to DIY fashion without knowing how how clothes are sewn or whatever. Yeah, that was an interesting time. But yeah, no, if I can dig up some of that stuff, it might be interesting to read over it because I have lost those vampire interviews, but if I've got the transcripts, you know, can sort of recreate them in a way. Anyway, that was an interesting time. I'm still kind of interested in those things, but I don't know where those communities exist now because, you know, you don't really have vloggers the way I used to be who just talk random shit, or if you do, because of the way YouTube works these days, they don't really get enough publicity that you could stumble on them. Yeah, and then like where do they go? Because I think Sanguinarius is what used to be the Sang Vampire website. I think that hasn't been updated in a very long time. So then they're not hanging out there. Maybe they're on Tumblr somewhere. Maybe they're on their own little forums. I found a Facebook page about like some Sydney vampire group, but hardly anyone's on there. And I don't post very much. God knows they've all moved to something like FetLife, and I would have to go on there, and I really don't want to because the advertising on that, not something I want to look at. Yeah, I don't know. There's I don't know where to find those people. And then there are some people that I probably wouldn't want to find these days because I think with some of the weird new genders, some people have tried to turn these movements into genders, and I'm just like, I don't have patience for that. But yeah, no, some of that old school Sang vampires, psychic vampires, those were kind of interesting. And oh my god, the Therians. And there was that guy who did that howling video. I don't remember. There's so many of these guys that I'm sort of like, where are these people now, you know? The vampires I used to interview, I want to know if they still are in that lifestyle, because that would be kind of interesting, because a lot of, you know, people grow up, right? But if you're really committed to the lifestyle, I would like to know who is still in it 10 years later. I think that would be really interesting if I could sort of dig up those people again. I know my brain had its biggest rewiring in my last depression, and so I've been less interested in a lot of that stuff. I think because, like, I got depressed late 2015, and then I had to stop working in 2016 because of medication side effects. And 2016 happened to be the year that all the political stuff was going down with Donald Trump, Brexit, Australia. We had an election that year, didn't we? So it was a very political year, and I ended up watching a lot of political stuff on YouTube and sort of lost a lot of. I was supposed to have that awakening. You're not just born a vampire. That's not how that culture sees it. As I understand it anyway. I'm sure there are people with different perspectives, you know. Especially because, like, it's not real. You know, people can make up their own rules. Yeah, no. 2016, I think I ended up spending too much time in the real world, and I think that's sort of damaged my interest in fantasy type things. And then watching so much YouTube, and getting into that habit in a big way. I mean, I was probably watching Air Crash Investigation and so on before that, but I feel like because I was depressed and had nothing to do, I was just on YouTube way too much and didn't really do any reading, didn't watch enough fantasy fiction stuff, and I think that probably crippled some of my interest in fantasy worlds. Also, I think just like by then being used to being an atheist, because that depression was not related to any atheist existential angst. It was just, that was much more biological, I think, than some of my past depressions. And whatever, I sort of stopped researching religions, and by then I'd researched most of the religions that I was interested in and been like, yeah, those don't fit me either. So yeah, I wasn't reading as much, I wasn't investigating as much of that, and not watching my regular fiction. I think that's kind of influenced how I've become a grumpy, real-world version of me, and yeah. Although, lately, when I've not been able to sleep, what I've been doing, just sort of lying in bed, I don't even know how this started, but my brain started writing a backstory to a backstory I wrote like 10 years ago, even longer, related to the old RPG I used to do, and I'm just like, wow. So now I've got more of a backstory. I'm not sure how sold I am on it, but that's what my brain's been doing in Fantasyland. Constructing its world, and oh my god, my brain just made another connection. What if this event is also connected to that event? Wow, okay. So, and this backstory, I ended up connecting to the backstory of another character that I used to write. Yeah, that was kind of an unexpected thing for my brain to be doing. So we'll see how much my brain gets back into fantasy, because I still sort of keep tabs on politics type stuff, but I'm not as much. I've sort of got fatigue from politics. My brain does get fixated on things for short amounts of time and then it gets bored. So hopefully I'm over that phase. But I guess we'll see. I mean, when I go to lunch with mum, if she asks a question on a certain topic, I will just be like, word vomit, sort of like I do on my YouTube videos, but live. And yeah, she doesn't have she doesn't usually tell me to shut up, so I just sort of keep going. And then at the end, she's like, okay. But one of the points mum made is like, there's not really any point stressing about this stuff, because like, what can you do about it? Nothing. So just do your own life kind of thing. And that's true for my life, because I mean, I'm sure some of the activists out there would be like, but you can mobilize. And I'm like, well, actually, I'm not an activist kind of person. I wouldn't have the energy for that. I don't have the passion for that. I don't have enough of an opinion on one side or the other. And when you join an activist group, usually you have to pick a side. So for me, because that is not something I can do, I do feel like there's nothing much I can do, so why worry about it? And maybe I should just go back to that sweet ignorance that allowed me to live more in fantasy world and also be more of a weirdo. Sometimes when I look at some of the older stuff I used to do, I'm like, why can't I be that weirdo again? Why am I suddenly like, I've always been a little bit shy, but I feel like earlier on in my YouTube journey, I was a little bit more out there with some of my bullshit. I think also, though, I didn't really expect anyone to watch, so that might have helped, whereas now I am aware that people are watching, and some people I know in real life, or some people who are at least in Sydney who I might conceivably run into. And then if you ask me about my videos, I would probably be like, oh no, you watch, because I still kind of get awkward between like my real world interaction kind of, and then how I have to talk to a camera. I feel like there's not as much separation as I think in my head, but in my head, I feel like there's this kind of divide. And I think also I'm probably used to being embarrassed about my old stuff. So even though my newer stuff, I think, is usually more reasonable, it's hard to say, but I think I'm less extreme now. So, I shouldn't be as concerned. Because, back in the early days of my YouTubing, that was much more this side of me, whereas in real life I was much more this side of me, for example, whereas today both sides of my, like all the different sides of me are a lot closer together and more integrated, so on. So people know, like people actually know me as Destroyer Mariko now. Some people would just yell out, hey Destroyer, and I'm like, you don't know what that means to me, but I will respond to it. But yeah, some people would just like yell that out. Yeah, so people know that this is me. So why am I still embarrassed about stuff? Also, I've gotten to a point where I'm never going to have like a flashy career like they told me in Catholic private school. Catholic private school, be careful about how you present online kind of thing. Well, actually, I don't know that they really knew about the online world back then, but that was the kind of vibe is, you don't want to get a bad reputation kind of thing. And I'm like, well, I've already fucked up my life now, so what does it matter? I shouldn't be embarrassed, but somehow I am. I think it's left over from those old tensions. I'm just like, people are watching me and my crazy shit on YouTube. You know what I mean? I think that's probably left over from there. Like, but also, I mean, in terms of me not saying some stuff on YouTube, I think it's also just because some of it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Like, I've lost some of the crazy. So it's harder to talk about some stuff because there's not actually anything in there in those topics. So, yeah. The way you grow up and your brain changes, and I mean, I come back to that same problem where I always feel like I'm a different person every few years because enough has changed that, I've got this whole stack of new memories and the older memories have sort of faded because, your brain's always constantly trying to trim things that aren't as important, and it's usually the newer stuff that's more important and the older stuff sort of fades away. So compared to who I used to be, I've got a completely different set of primary memories, and the memories kind of inform who you are. So if you don't remember something, are you still the same person as the person who did remember that thing? And that's where I start getting a little bit like, who am I? Because, you know, if I don't have those same memories, am I still the same person? I mean, technically I am. But then if you think about it, your cells are constantly regenerating, and like, you know, the different components of you, it's not like they've disappeared, but the molecules and stuff have been replaced, the cells have been replaced. So how much of it is the same cells that you were 10 years ago? Not very much by then. So the like, you know, the bones I had 10 years ago are not quite the same as the bones I have now, just because of the way cells replace. And then I'm like, what even is reality? Because my brain has changed, my memories have changed, my body has changed, how much of this is real? And that's how I get a little bit like, what the fuck, in my head. But if we come back to what my mum's saying, is like, how much of this is practical to my life, thinking about all this kind of philosophical bullshit? You know, none of it's really important to my life. Why is my brain overthink all this stuff? It doesn't help me to know that my bones are different to what they were 10 years ago. Why do I need to know that? Why do I need to know that if a diglet is 1 kilogram, then in American it's 2.2 pounds, and that's how I know how to convert between metric and imperial? Because a fucking diglet, probably a card I had like 20 years ago or something, or I don't know, maybe it was in the Game Boy game, I don't remember, but I remember a diglet being 1 kilogram in Japanese and it being 2.2 pounds in American, and me going, oh, are they the same? That's how you convert between metric and imperial. Wow, this live stream has really gone on a bit of a roller coaster once I've gotten into it. Hey Hopi, did you hear me yelling into the sky? Alright, so we've got maybe like, what, 25 minutes left. How much battery have I got? Oh, I'm doing okay for battery, but it's 38%. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah. The molecules. I don't fucking know. Like, you know, you breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide, but it's not necessarily, like, you know, it's, you're taking in nutrients so that your cells can regenerate, and then, like, the old dead cells are ejected from your body, and it's all just, like, you know, the cells I was born with are not the same cells that I have now. Obviously, like, you know, I had to grow a lot, so I've gained a whole bunch of cells too. What is life and stuff? I'm all busy with my real life, yeah. Real life's so boring though. I think that's why I end up going to like fantasy and then just like overthinking things. I really need to just, I feel like I need to disconnect more and just like read more books and watch more TV. You know, like fantasy TV. I've got the, you remember I got that whole 6-disc box set of Alien? I still haven't watched that yet. I was trying to watch Life After People, but I got through a few episodes, and the TV show of Life After People is a lot slower than the original documentary, so it's been tough to pay attention. I don't have a real life to keep me distracted. Yeah, well, I don't really have much of a life either, so here I am making YouTube videos about God knows what we've covered in this live stream. Oh, my tummy is feeling a bit sore. It's been a bit off today. A little bit of a pain on this side. What anatomically is on this side? Is it just like a little bit of small intestine? Or is there a different part of me that I should be concerned about? Yeah. No, what am I doing with my life? So actually, starting next week, every Wednesday, until at least until the end of September, appendix? I hope not. Starting next week, every Wednesday until the end of September, I have bonsai, so I will be busy with that. That is a life thing. And then, of course, Thursday I have to recover, so a bowling alley? Why do I need a bowling alley? Yeah, so Wednesdays and Thursdays for the next 5 weeks will be pretty sorted out. That's live. With live stuff though, there's a chance I may end up doing like some kind of casual bookkeeping stuff for a bit of extra money. I don't know when that will start though, and you know, waiting to find out details. But if I can make a little bit of extra money, that'll chill me out on the finance side of things. Because yeah, there are expenses I have coming up, and it'd be nice to have a little bit more income. Like I do make some money from bonsai, but not a lot because it's just one shift a week. So I think I got a pay rise though, just because the award went up. So that's like a few extra dollars. But yeah, no, I really need more work. I really need to find like a proper job, but because of my psychology, it's difficult. But yeah, so I might end up with some like bookkeeping work, which will be a little bit boring, but it's better than nothing. And I think it's like I can work from home, so I think work from home might be something I should look into more. You know, it might suit me better because I hate sitting on public transport. I hate driving as well. I would rather be able to do stuff from home. Australian internet connections can be a bit dodgy, but yeah. Although I think I will be getting a new computer. I probably still will get it at the beginning of next year, but that is looking a lot more possible at the moment. What else is happening in life? Well, if I get that acting thing, that'd give me something to do for Halloween. But yeah, no, otherwise my life is kind of just sitting at home doing whatever it is I do, I guess, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon things, painting, music, you know, all those kinds of things to pass the time. In the meantime, trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life, which is, yeah, tricky to figure out because I think I'm just like, my psychology is really messed up and it's hard for me to see things as a possibility, I guess, and then to take the initiative, like just to submit that application to the Halloween thing was enough of an ordeal. So like, you know, applying for a job that might be boring, even more difficult. Although I did apply to that, you remember that YouTube thing? You know, good on me for giving that a shot. Didn't go anywhere though. I still wonder if they ever hired anyone though, because I've been following their stuff and I haven't seen anything new. So either they've hired someone who had to give a ridiculously long amount of notice, or they just didn't hire anyone at all. And at some point I'm considering like emailing them to be just like, hey, how's it going? Just was wondering how your YouTube thing was going, and am I subscribed to the right channel? Because you know, I've been waiting to see. I'm kind of genuinely curious about what they wanted for their YouTube, so I would like to see who they hired. But yeah, I haven't seen anything on the channel that I thought it would be on. So what's going on? Did they create a new channel maybe? I don't think so though, because they didn't announce anything on their blog, so it's a bit of a mystery. But I might follow up with them at some point. It does frustrate me a little bit to see that they didn't fix any of the social media things that I think they really could have worked on. But hey, that's their business, not mine. This is another case of me trying to fix things that I have no control over, you know, just like in my head, oh, people should do this. It's the same with the political stuff. Like, I have no power over those things. I should just stop worrying about the mistakes. Speaking of mistakes other people are making, my fucking phone. It always seems to be towards the end of the stream lately, doesn't it, that it starts to fuck up the connection. Am I still live? I don't know. But, yeah, no, like, politics and world events, can't do anything about it, from my end. There's a lot that I really can't do anything meaningful about. And then when people have for example, their social media, they don't want my advice, fine, I can't do anything. And yeah, actually there is still that friend who did want help on social media things. I think I asked him when he was available though, and because he doesn't actually live in Sydney, that's a bit tricky, so I think I'm actually waiting for him to get back to me. I don't know, it's hard sometimes. I'm like, was I meant to get back to him? I'm pretty sure he was meant to get back to me. And really, I'm the one helping him, so I guess if he wants the help, he'll get back to me. Yeah, no, I think that's what that was about. Anyway. Oh dear. There's actually a few people I think that I was gonna do stuff with. But I was waiting for that performance to be over because I had, like, you know, I could only think about that for a while because I had so much to prepare. But now that it's done, I was like, hey, contact me after that. So One of the guys did get back to me though, and that was about doing a guest spot on his band's EP or whatever, and like it's all written, so I just need to learn it, and then, well, because we're fixing a hole in the roof, it's going to be hard for me to record that for a while, but I guess I'll just sort of practice the vocal part and see how it goes, and then at some point I'll record that. And then I think they're a band based in Canberra, so if they come up to Sydney, I could just jump in for a guest performance. That could be kind of fun. But I think the band's not quite ready to get going in that sense. But hey, at least it's something, but I'm still looking for a band of my own. Or, I don't know, do I write my own music still? Because I did like how my growls went on Sunday, the new growls, and so I'm kind of like, I should try and write more music that uses this. Also, I kind of want to write some music that uses growls with my high girly voice. So, yeah, maybe I could try that as a challenge. It's hard to know how, like, you know, I'm a music first person. I'm not good at writing lyrics and vocals first and then writing the music afterwards person. So if the high voice doesn't fit the music, then, well, I'll just go back to regular singing voice. So that's a sort of tricky thing to figure out there. And then I also want to do some covers on YouTube. So actually, I really need to learn the lyrics for that Disturbed song. Just haven't got around to it. There's so many things on my to-do list. But I've also not been sleeping well, so it's hard to remember what things I was going to do. Yeah, so I end up just sort of sitting there in a bit of a daze, not doing anything, and then before I know it, time's up and I have to go to bed. Or like last night, time's up, but then my brain starts working and then I stay up way too late. So that happens a bit. But yeah, and then I also think because there's so many things on my to-do list, sometimes it's a bit daunting to look at the to-do list and be like, shit, which one of these tasks am I going to tackle today? So yeah, the fact that I got anything done yesterday feels like an achievement. That's how messed up I am. Man, mental illness and so on. I really need to get my shit together, but it's tough. And sometimes it's easy to sort of think, oh, maybe I'm just heaps lazy and it's all my fault kind of thing. But yeah, there's definite signs, I think, like, you know, I still have this sort of clash in my mind, like, could I have some form of autism? But then I have that resistance one, like, nah, no way, like, you know, everyone has autism today, you're just sort of jumping on that bandwagon. But I'm like, yeah, but then there's this thing, and I keep noticing things. Like, you know, there could, maybe not autism, maybe there's something else going on with me besides the frequent recurring depression kind of thing. Like, maybe there is something else going on with my head that we haven't figured out, haven't put a name to, but I definitely don't feel like I function well in this sort of world we've got. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I do worry that it is just laziness, but then when I get deeper into, okay, if I'm going to be not lazy, what am I going to do? And then start trying to make plans and being like, oh my God, and then there's this, and then there's also the fact that I don't enjoy anything, and like, why am I working so hard to do the thing? And yeah, the sort of spiral kinds of thoughts. It's hard to separate, and, you know, to recover from the last depression, I think I had to really recognize that I had issues, and then properly accept the help that was available to me, because a lot of things that were available to me for a long time, it's just in my stubbornness to not seem lazy, I tried to do everything myself, and all that. And like, at some point you kind of just need to admit to yourself that you need help. And I've been doing better since. But you know, my mood's been better, but that doesn't mean I've gotten my life back together. You know, I'm still mostly sitting at home most days, not doing very much. I mean, I still try and be productive, but it's not doing a lot in a sort of mainstream society sense. You know, it's like me being not really productive member of society in a lot, like the normal way. I don't know. It can be very easy to blame yourself, but I guess that's one of the difficult things about mental illness, is because it's not instantly visible. Like, if you had a broken arm, it's kind of obvious, but yeah, no, because it's in your brain, you kind of question yourself, like, is this something I can't control, or is this me being lazy? You can sort of beat yourself up a bit thinking about that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna sort of be kind to myself, I guess, and sort of realize. But at the same time, I don't want to use, oh, it's a mental illness thing as an excuse. Like, if I am genuinely being lazy or whatever, I'm sort of like, I want to try and be aware of, like, what's the difference between things I can't control and things I can. And I think that's a very blurry line, because, yeah, I don't want to get too comfortable with the idea of, oh, I have a mental illness, it's okay for me to sit on my bum every day. I don't want to get to that point. I want to sort of have a nice balance between, like, you know, having an excuse versus allowing myself to actually become lazy. And yeah, it's kind of a hard thing to manage, kind of a hard thing to think about. Yeah. And I guess it's that thing, like, crazy people don't know that they're crazy. But if I know that I'm crazy, does that mean that I'm not crazy? But then I think I'm not crazy. So that must mean that I am crazy. Do you know what I mean? You can go in these crazy circles about thinking about your own mind. Yeah. Also, self-diagnosis is a bad idea. So many conditions I read up on Wikipedia, and I'm like, oh, this fits me. But then you kind of have to look, okay, yeah, but those other things don't fit you, and those are kind of more important than those few things that do. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, so I don't have that condition. But yeah, I kind of do wonder. Okay, so, I mean, I am assuming that I'm going to be interrupted at 4. I'm also down to 30% battery, well, 29% battery, but if we assume that I've got less than 10 minutes before God knows when Mikey's coming home, oh, I think he went to Luna Park today. I don't know, he was going to do something heaps fun, and I was like, can I go too? Actually, Luna Park's kind of small as far as theme parks go, but, it's in the middle of Sydney, so it's pretty accessible. Does Sydney? I don't think Sydney's really had any major theme parks since Wonderland closed down. Wonderland was kind of good, but yeah, they went out of business. I think that was that financial mismanagement. I don't remember. I think there's like that Wet and Wild place, but I'm pretty sure that only operates in summer, and I've never been, because it sounds like a busy place. I don't like going to busy places, but yeah. So is Luna Park the last sort of theme parky thing in Sydney? I don't know. Sydney feels kind of boring to me, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, I think Mikey was going to do something fun like that. He also sometimes goes swimming at in Homebush. There's this sort of pool with like a swirly kind of thing. Like, it's kind of fun. All the kids love it, and you just sort of go with the flow of it. But he hurt his finger. Actually had to go to hospital to get it checked out. And they wanted to strap it, but he wouldn't tolerate that. He'd just want to rip it off. So yeah, better to just try and make sure he doesn't bump his finger too much. But yeah, so because of that, taking him into one of those little pool things with like kids all over the place, any chance to whack on the finger, probably not a good idea. So I think he was going to go to Luna Park instead. Although sometimes he goes to the zoo, and I think he used to go to the aquarium. I think maybe they tried to take him to the aquarium, but because it was dark inside, he was a bit like, I don't know what to think about this. Yeah, anyway. I don't know what time he's going to be home. So I've just rambled away some more time, but if anyone's got some quick questions that are not about feminism or politics, or if you've got any like suggestions for things I should try and tackle. I mean, I don't know how many videos I'm going to get filmed in the next week because of tradies. We're Aussie, so we're going to shorten everything. Tradies. We're going to have a tradie come in and fix the ceiling. Yeah, I don't know how much time I'm going to have to film things, but we'll see how we go. So if there's any pressing topic, or if you want me to focus in a particular area, like, I had some mental health ideas, and oh my god, I just keep coming up with too many ideas though, I just like have a thought, I'm like, I could make a YouTube video about that. And back in the day I probably would have, because I used to make like 2 vlogs a day, although partly that, like, I had that 10-minute time limit, so I kind of had to do 2 vlogs a day to get the same amount of content out in one go. Have a great weekend. Oh yeah, it's Friday, hey. Well, see, weekends for me, I actually prefer the week, usually, because I usually have the house to myself a fair bit, whereas the weekend everyone's home, so sometimes it actually feels a bit more crowded, and yeah, more noise. So for me, weekends aren't that exciting, especially because, like, I don't really do much with my life. So there's not really a huge distinction between my life during the week and my life on a weekend. Yeah, so that's a thing. I guess, like, you know, when I am working at the bonsai place, Wednesday is my work day, and then Thursday is my recovery day, and then the rest of it is like my weekend. Oh wow, that just shows you how much of a mess my life is, at least from like a mainstream perspective. I used to have that same problem, yeah. Well, also, like, weekends are odd if you're a retail person, and most of my work history is retail. So, you know, and I would work on the Sunday shift. So, like, you know, weekends are just like, yeah, I'm just gonna work. And Sundays, penalty rates. So that's, I guess, more money, but it still feels like just another day. Every day is a week, and therefore no day is a weekend. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, anything pressing anyone wants to communicate to me before I have to go, or if there's something you want me to quickly talk about. But yeah, because he could come home at any minute, really. And then there will be noise, and there will be dogs barking, and there will be me going, bye guys, and running off. Or otherwise, I don't know. I guess I could wrap it up early so that we don't have to do that whole dance, hey? But on the other hand, see, like, sometimes he might come home really late, so if there's going to be like another half hour before he comes home, maybe I just keep going. See, that's the thing that I don't know, because it depends on like where he is and what's going on with the schedule. Yeah, it's hard to know. But he's been a pretty happy kid despite, like, you know, hurting his finger, and I think he's got some more dental work coming up, which he'll have to have done at the hospital, just because, you know, because he's disabled, and, you know, behavioral and so on. You just have to be more particular in the way that you do some of that stuff for him. So yeah, but yeah, no, he's a pretty happy kid. The family's pretty good. Are there any dramas? Oh, the possum! I didn't tell you about the possum. Do we have time to talk about the possum? So this would have been on. Was this on? It might have been Tuesday night. So Hope found a possum, a baby ringtail possum out in the backyard. And, you know, like, he wouldn't attack it or anything. He just knew something was there and was like going woof woof woof, kind of noises at him. And I mean, Hope's been woofing a lot because it's been windy. So, like, you know, the front gate was making noises, and, you know, the windows are making noises and all that kind of stuff. So he's just woofing at everything. But then he was like really woofing, and so I was like, what's there? And it took me a while to see, because by the time I got there and saw it, like, the light was getting quite dark, and my eyesight's already bad, but when it's getting darker it gets worse, obviously. And Marley was no help. He didn't know what Hope was barking at. Like, when I opened the door, I could actually smell something. Like, it smelled like dead body to me. You know, like, smelled like roadkill. But not a huge strong whiff, but, you know, that kind of thing. So I could smell something was there, but Marley's just sort of standing around like, oh, what's going on? Oh my god, are we gonna have to cut this off? Maybe I have to make a separate video about the possum. What, Hopi? Huh? What? Did I set him off by making dog noises? Or is there actually someone there? I can't hear anyone. Okay, so Marley's a bit of a dope. Like, he's the Labrador, he should be the smart one, but no, Hope's the smart one in this situation. I think because of Marley's whatever abuse before we rescued him, he's just a bit of a dopey dog, so he's just standing here like, oh, what are we barking at? But no, so we've got like one of those drip watering systems, and the little tube was just lying there, and that's what Hope looked like he was barking at. So I sort of picked it up to try and show him, like, look, there's nothing wrong. But then I heard this sort of like hissing noise, and there was this little tiny ringtail possum with its tail curled around part of the hose, and yeah, it was not happy with me for moving the hose, but it couldn't stand up either. So it was in a really bad way. No obvious injuries, but clearly not able to stand up on its own. Yeah, and it was sort of like a little baby, not really a baby, but a very small ringtail possum, like probably about like, could fit like that maybe in there. So I had to call Wires, which is like the wildlife something rescue something, and they logged the call and whatever, and eventually we had a vet, like maybe 2 hours later, a vet dropped by to pick up this possum. I mean, the advice I was given is like I could try and pick it up and put it in a box to try and keep it happy and like keep it warm, give it the best chance. But I looked at it and I was like, I don't think it's gonna make it. And so I just put a washing basket over it to make sure. Like it was, I think the advice I was like, they told me to put a washing basket over the phone. And I can't remember if that was to stop it from escaping, which I think it could have because it was so small, or if it was to stop like other things from getting to it. But yeah, it did that. And then this vet turned up and I lifted it up. I did check on it every now and then because I thought maybe it had died. But no, it was still alive. It just made like these sort of painful squeaking noises and yeah, pretty sad. And then the vet came, picked it up, looked it over. It turned out it was a girl, but yeah, very sort of limp, definitely on the way out. Probably had to be put down later. Um, yeah, and it was a juvenile ringtail. So what the vet said was old enough to not be a back rider anymore. So, possums, Australian possums, I think marsupials, and they stick around, and then the baby hitches a ride on the back. So not old enough, not young enough to be a back rider, but not old enough to be independent. And it could have been bitten by a cat, even though there was no signs of injury, because apparently cat teeth are like sort of needle-like, and so you might not necessarily see the part like or any kind of a wound. Or it could have just like eaten something, or I feel like it could have just fallen because it was very windy. Like maybe it fell off wherever it was and couldn't get back up. But yeah, poor thing's probably dead. Um, mm. But had a go trying to save a possum. I've rescued possums before. There was another one in the street one day when I was walking. Was I walking Hope? Was it that recent? And yeah, so I picked up this possum. I think in my jumper or something. Because like seeing a possum in daylight is very unusual, and this was a little baby one, so yeah, I picked up one like that and took it to, I think I actually took that one to the zoo rather than the vet that time. I've also rescued like a bird one time. That possum though, that I picked up in the street was pretty energetic, so don't know why it was out during the day, but it probably did survive, whereas this one in the backyard, it couldn't lift itself up. Like, it was clearly unhappy that I was sort of coming nearby and, putting a washing basket over that and shining a light to be able to see where it was, but it wasn't able to get up or do anything. Obviously, I got the dogs well away. But yeah, no, in Australia, the Australian animals are protected and all that. So if you see one that's injured, I mean, it's the nice thing to do for one thing, but also you should try and rescue them. So I think I've also rescued like, was it like a rainbow lorikeet I saw just like sitting in the middle of a road or something. Every now and then, when I'm out walking a dog, I'll come across these animals. I also saw like an adult possum once, just like hanging out in the street in the middle of daylight, and it looked like it had a bit of a shaved tail, so like maybe it had just come out of the vet or something, and that was kind of odd. But Wires, like I had to leave. I couldn't stay there and watch it for so long, especially because I was still walking the dog. I was probably walking Hope, and he would have not been happy hanging around like that for ages. Yeah, no, rescuing animals is kind of interesting. And you have to kind of be careful with some of them, how you pick them up, because you don't want to get bitten. But Australia doesn't really have things like rabies. So, for example, like, some people who come here are scared of dogs because they know in other countries that dogs have rabies, but in Australia, our border protection is pretty strong. That's kind of why we're so obsessed with the border protection for those kinds of things, because, there's so many diseases that aren't present in Australian animals. We don't really want them to get that. So, yeah. It's probably not as bad being bitten by some of those Aussie animals. But then again, I should tell you that it's the most dangerous thing ever, because we do like to tell foreigners that everything here is dangerous, even when it's cute. And actually, possums can be quite vicious. So that you do have to be a little bit worried, especially if it's an adult possum. But this was a baby one. The one in the backyard, I probably could have picked it up and put it in a box, but because it was in so much pain, I was a little bit worried I'd make it worse if I picked it up. Like, So it wasn't too cold that night, so I waited until the vet came to pick it up properly. But no, the one in the street, that one I actually had to catch because it was just running around like crazy and like don't want it to get on the bloody road. But it did look a bit stunned as well at one point because it seemed to have fallen out of a tree, but then it sort of woke up and got a little bit crazy. Yeah, so anyway, that was my drama with saving the little possum, or attempting to save a little possum. I think it's dead, probably had to be put down, but at least if it was put down by a vet, that's a lot faster than if it was just left to die. So, yeah, that's another thing that happened this week. Wow. Yeah, so that was a bit distracting that night, so that's probably why I didn't get anything done then, because I was too busy trying to save a possum and checking on it every now and then. But yeah, well done Hopi for finding it, I guess, because Marley was no good. Sometimes we wonder if Marley has a sense of smell, because he even sometimes struggles to find food. But if you spray fly spray nowhere near him, he can smell it. He knows that someone somewhere has sprayed fly spray, and he'll get very upset. And I think whatever that's about, it's probably related to whatever abuse he went through before we got him as a rescue dog. Yeah. I don't like trying to think about what someone must have done to him, but yeah, so Marley's got a bit of PTSD, I guess. Maybe that's why he doesn't smell normal things like that, like the possum. He's also just a bit dopey. He'll try and take cues from Hope as cues on what behavior he should do. Whereas Hope's very anxious, so he's always paying attention to everything. And I think that might be some of the reason that he notices more than Marley and comes across as much smarter than Marley. Although Marley is incredibly eager to please and terrified of disappointing you or getting in trouble. So he's relatively easy to train once he understands what he wants from you. But for example, there's this spot in the backyard where he was trying to dig and he keeps coming back with a dirty nose. But I caught him digging in one particular spot that was quite visible and sort of yelled at him the first time and he was like, oh, okay. But then he went back and did it. And that's when I yelled at him in a proper, do not do that voice. And he's like, oh shit. And he has never dug in that spot again. I even, there is no evidence of any digging there. And I think that's because he's so terrified of being punished, which is probably related to whatever happened to him in the past. But it does make him, easy to train once he understands. It's just, sometimes he needs to watch Hope before he understands what the hell he's supposed to be doing, which is just oh dear, Labrador's meant to be smarter than that, but okay. But yeah, whereas Hope picks up what you want more easily. But sometimes he doesn't want to come to me. He's a bit of a teenager. He's got his own sort of ideas. But if you've got food, he will come. So he does understand. It's just he's like, why should I do stuff if you're not going to give me food for it? Whereas Marley, I think, usually will try and just do the thing even if there's not food. Kind of weird, the relationship they have. But yeah, no, well done Hopi finding the possum so that we were able to at least get it a more comfortable way out, even if we couldn't save it. Well, so Mikey's not home yet, but how much battery do I have? 20%. In 5%, it's going to complain to me that I need to get a charger, and I think at that point I should probably just go, but hey, if there's any last questions or anything anyone wants to raise or suggestions, I guess we'll leave it open for a little bit longer. Hey, what do you think of the new Killswitch Engage song? Is that the one with the two singers? Because I haven't really been paying attention to chronology or anything, but today I watched the one with the two singers. So they've got the current singer and the old singer. Is that the one? I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I only watched it once, so I haven't really had a chance to dig into it, but, yeah, that one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that seemed pretty cool. I would like to listen a bit closer just so I can hear what the two different parts, I think there's some overlapping vocals in there, and, but yeah, no, it was really cool to see both of them in that. I think that's really interesting, and it'd be cool to see if they're going to do more of that. But I guess, as far as I can tell, it looks like just sort of a one-off sort of guest vocal spot. But yeah, kind of fun. I mean, I don't really follow Killswitch Engage closely. I mean, the fans love it so far. Yeah. My music collection is actually quite small because I've tended to buy CDs. So my music listening range has generally been limited by how much money I have, and these days I don't really have a lot. But I did download Spotify. I just haven't quite gotten into the habit of listening to it. I think yeah, I sort of when I got depressed, I started listening to less music, and I really need to get back into it again. But it's a little bit hard. I feel like I was more engaged with music in general when I was actually in a band. So, you know, hopefully if I can find a band that'll kickstart my brain again to listen to more of that stuff. But yeah, no, I've got the Spotify. I should probably listen to that more because then I'd be able to hear more Kill Switch. I know I can look it up on YouTube. Yeah, I know Ginger. Um, I think like the first video of theirs I stumbled on would have been that Sit Stay Roll Over, I think. E-scooters. I don't know that I've seen many around. I think there was a fad for e-scooters a while ago, but that I don't know that many people are into it. Either that or I'm just not connected to the world. But yeah, no, Ginger, it's really cool. Her voice is really interesting. I've had some people asking me to cover Pisces, but I'm not going to do that anytime soon just because my vocal range is different to hers, I'm pretty sure. So some of the notes that she hits are not quite where my voice sits. And that's one of the tricky things about covers is you do have to think like, how well does that sit in my voice? And I think particularly because she's a female singer, there's a little bit more pressure on me to sound exactly the same. And for me, doing a cover, I prefer putting my own spin on it. So I'm probably more interested in doing covers of male songs. But also, yeah, so her vocal range, I'm pretty sure is different to mine. Especially in some of that belting stuff because I've not really been much of a belter. Should just start doing some reaction and review videos. Oh, okay. I guess I could. I haven't really thought about reaction videos. I do reviews of fashion, but I haven't really done reviews of music. I think with music, I worry that I don't know enough just because my music range has been limited by my CD obsession. It'd be fun. Yeah, I guess I'll think about that. Especially like reaction videos. I'm not sure about review just because I don't feel educated enough or up to date enough to be able to give certain opinions, but maybe if I could find an angle, like I'm really interested in growls at the moment. So that's another thing about Ginger is my growls are very different to hers. So if I was going to cover one of her songs, at least with the growl styles that I use at the moment, it would sound different and I'm not sure how well they translate. So I'd need to think about that a lot. I have been learning other styles of growling or screaming or whatever you want to call it, but I don't really like them in my voice, you know. Vocals, because we're all different shaped, they sound different, and there's I think the screaming style she uses on my voice sounds kind of crap. So yeah, that would be an interesting challenge to cover Pisces or one of their other songs. But yeah, at the moment I don't feel like that's really doable. I probably need a bit more practice in the kinds of things that she does. And then there's like Disturbed covers. There's that Disturbed cover I did 10 years ago that I really want to update because I didn't know what I was doing with my voice back then and it sounds shit. So I want to do like 10 years later, here's an update. And then maybe in another 10 years, I'll do another update. But yeah, no, maybe if I did like reaction videos, I could try and like analyze what kind of growls people are doing, but I know there are channels that already do that, and maybe I'm not expert enough to be able to give a proper opinion. I'm a video game and pop culture journalist, so I tend to write about that stuff. I've never reviewed or reacted to music either. I love me some heavy metal though. Yeah, cool. I've been doing some like Free Space 2 Let's Plays. Not very popular because, I don't know, it's not what people are into, but I've been getting into that game. I think I do need to just back away from real world stuff and get back into music, watching TV, reading books. Like, you know, oh, Alien, I've got to watch that Alien. I've got that whole Alien box set. I've only seen like the first Alien movie, I think. And then I think I watched Alien vs. Predator, and I think I've also seen Prometheus, but that's not in this box set. And the Alien vs. Predator isn't in this box set. I think it's like the original, like Aliens, whatever comes after that. I really need to watch that. And I think also playing video games. I need to get into like those kinds of things instead of like what's going on in the real world, which is all depressing. I think, yeah, more music, culture kinds of stuff might be kind of fun just to like chill out, give my brain a break from how shit the world is, you know? And I really should get into more music because if I want to develop as a musician, I should be listening to more of the music that I like and listening to what the vocalists do and use that as a springboard to work on my own technique. So I won't go with a Classic IPs before. Oh my god, I'm so sick of Hollywood remakes. Like, occasionally something is done well. I mean, and you know, sequels and stuff, right? So I enjoyed Terminator 2 because like the technology to actually make a Terminator look good was better than Terminator 1, for example. So occasionally like sequels will do things well or remakes or whatever, but for the most part at the moment it feels really lazy. And you know, like The Lion King, I don't know if you guys have seen like analysis of why the updated Lion King doesn't really work. But I could not make myself go see that because the graphics, yeah, sure, amazing, but because they're not expressive with their faces, you're losing a lot of the character. And I've heard that Scar's song is kind of, it's not fun like it used to be. And I'm just like, I don't want to ruin my childhood by watching the updated Lion King. It was bad enough when, like, I think on the DVD they added that Morning Report song. Don't do that. Just give me the original where Zazu's just rambling away. I don't want the Morning Report. It's a terrible song. I don't care if you guys had success with it in the musical. I want the original that I saw when I was a kid. Like bloody Star Wars as well. Just go back to the original versions. We don't need these fancy, like, someone went and made a despecialized version. I should have downloaded it. So this is why I appreciate people from other countries outside the United States. You guys and girls, tell it how it is and give Hollywood their proper. Yeah, I don't know. I just, there's so many remakes and I'm just like, why? But also like I can't keep up with Hollywood, like especially I can't keep up with the superhero movies because there's so many. I'm just like, and I kind of don't care, to be honest. I mean, you know, once you've watched one superhero movie, they all are a little bit similar. But no, I'm sure there's more nuance to it, and that's just because I haven't seen them. I don't know, but yeah. Oh shit, my battery power is going. So I think I should probably go. But yeah, no, Hollywood remakes and so on. Please stop, Hollywood. Come up with something original, please. The website I write for, we are very much non-politically correct, so we call out Hollywood all the time. Matrix 4, anyone? Oh my god, I've heard about that. I'm too scared to read about it. I guess maybe I should find out what they're even thinking, but Matrix 4. Yeah, on that note, I'm gonna go because now we're getting into the crossover between fantasy world and real world is where they just keep making these sequels because they know they can make money from it, from lazily reviving an existing IP, and because it already has a fan base, it will get a decent return in most cases unless they really fuck it up. And that's why they do it, because less production, like less development and so on, and they can still make a lot of money, and sometimes more money than the original, which was actually good. And that's like comes into all that greed, Hollywood laziness. I'm very glad I wandered in a stream or subscribed to your channel. Hope to see you soon. Oh, thank you. Welcome to my world of chaos. Yeah, this has been a sort of all over the place live stream, but yes, fucking Hollywood. Just like, I mean, I guess if you like it, make movies about it, but the cynical part of me is just like, stop, and can we have some original stuff? I already have a ticket for Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I have no idea what that is. I liked Venom though as like sort of a spin-off from Spider-Man because like, you know, it was different, and I like the fact that all the critics were like, this is a shit movie, and then at the box office we're like, no, we love it, it's fun, you know? Fuck off critics on that sense. I mean, I guess when you actually look at it, I can see what they're talking about. Like, there are a lot of issues with the movie, but who cares? It was a fun movie, and I enjoyed it, you know? I thought that was kind of fun. And it was kind of different because it's just like, fuck the old Spider-Man, we're going to do it our own way. But I don't know that I want to see the sequel. And, yeah, I don't know. Hollywood is frustrating. There's mixed feelings on some things, but just too many remakes and reboots and whatever. And yeah, I'm gonna go because my phone is sort of telling me that I have no battery left, and I don't want to get on too much of another rant. So bye everyone, thank you for turning up. I will do my best to make videos this week, but like I say, because we're fixing the hole in the roof, might be a bit tricky, and I'm sorry if you hate ants, but we may end up with ant videos.
Bye, everyone.